The people in Jerry Anderson's hometown in Tennessee had always known he was someone special. For more than 20 years, he'd impressed them with his toughness on the football field, his kindness off it, and his courage in both arenas. Actors have helped us reconstruct the tragic events that began on May 27th of this year.
Before he saved the little boy, he was a hero to me. I first met him at the University of Oklahoma. He was real nice, real nice. He would offer me tickets to go to the game. I said, no, you have enough cheerleaders there, you know. We dated for 6 months. Then we got married.
A college football star, Jerry went on to play in the NFL until a knee injury ended his career.
He was always the kind of person that would reach out to people. If anything happened, he thought he could fix it.
On Memorial Day weekend in 1984, Tulsa, Oklahoma was devastated by the Great Flood. Jerry was caught in the floodwaters, but he still managed to find a way to help someone else.
A car was floating down the street and 2 girls on it. I said, I saved one of them, but I couldn't get the other one. He said, I had her, but she was fighting me, panicking. And he said, I know she's not alive. And I said, I imagine she's not, Jerry. It wasn't your fight. You did all you could do. But that was on Jerry's mind, though. He saved another guy. His van turned over. He couldn't swim. And Jerry grabbed him and put him on top of his van.
I asked him, I said, Jerry, I said, what made you do something like that? He says, Mama, he said, if you'd have heard the cry from the people that were out there in that water.
Jerry was a hero, but the woman he could not save continued to haunt him even after he moved back to his hometown of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It was 5 years later to the day.
I was in the front yard when Jerry and the 2 little boys stopped out front and asked permission to go fishing in the rear of the house. And, of course, I said yes.
You guys ready to go? Everyone knew there was good fishing on the Stones River behind Police Lieutenant Johnny Mosby's house. St. Rains. 12-year-old Pooh McFarland and Brad Logston had also decided to go fish on it.
I went over to Pooh's house, and Pooh wanted to go fishing, so I said, all right. So we went down to the river, and we were just casting out. We didn't catch anything, really.
Dwight Ogleton's family was good friends with Jerry Anderson.
I knew Jerry from church, and just one day I asked him, could we go fishing? He said, sure. We went down there. We was fishing for a while. He helped me and my cousin to put our bait on the hook. We didn't catch anything, really. And Pooh said they catch a lot of fish over to the other side. And we walked out. We had to scoot our feet across the dam. If you lifted up your foot, the current would take your foot away. About halfway, I didn't want to keep on going. I wanted to turn around, but we just kept on going. We saw this big branch coming down towards us. I just reached out my hand so he could grab it and I could pull him back. But the current was going so fast, my feet just went out from under me and I just went off. And I swam back and got a hold of the other side of the dam. Mr. Anderson dove in upstream and swam down across the dam towards Pooh.
Dwight ran to get Lieutenant Mosby. Francis Mosby went to call for help.
I saw my husband was starting to run toward the river, so I ran inside and called 911.
Sergeant Byron Motley took her call.
The call came through on 911. It was Lieutenant Mosby's residence. Sergeant Robinson was in the dispatch room with me, so he said, well, I'll go out there. I notified all the other people I thought we might need out there, the ambulance service. And after I got all that into motion, I said, well, I may as well go out myself.
heard screams, and I looked out and saw Mr. Mosby running to the river. And when I arrived at the river, there was a little boy fighting for his life.
Jerry Melton was terrified to see how high and rough the river was.
I kept hollering and screaming, "Come toward me, come toward me." And he was just fighting, and the more he paddled, the more the current took him back.
Pooh seemed to be trapped in a kind of whirlpool.
I noticed the young man wasn't moving, and it appeared that Jerry was in trouble out there also. I ran back to my police unit and immediately called the dispatcher and advised her to send the rescue squad.
Jerry Anderson had him cradled in his arms and gave him a toss, enough to get him out of the whirlpool.
This kid coming. All at once, he flipped over. It looked like come to or something. Then he began to swim out. Are you all right? You okay? You all right?
I never knew Jerry was in trouble. He never indicated that he was in trouble. He never made any motions. He was like waiting to see that the McFarland boy was secured. After the child was secured, Jerry went under. And I thought he was going to swim out underwater. But then Jerry came back up in the same spot, and he went under again. And I watched him go down for the third time.
Officer Dale Robinson arrived within 4 minutes of the call.
I drove the car straight down to the riverbank. Lieutenant Mosby had a life jacket on and was getting ready to go out in the water himself, but he can't swim. I took off my uniform shirt, my gun belt, and my shoes, and I got the life jacket from Lieutenant Mosby, and I thought if we could get to him quick enough, we might be able to do some good. So I looked up the river, and a neighbor was coming from upriver in a canoe. I proceeded to get on out in the water to where Lieutenant Mosby directed me to where he last saw this person go under. I went under a couple times. The canoe had come up by then. I would come up and grab the side of the canoe to get my breath. Then I'd go back under.
On my arrival, Sergeant Robinson was already in the water. I had no idea who we were going in the water after, but I really wasn't thinking about anything but saving life.
I found out that the person that they were looking for was Jerry Anderson. Jerry's had been a good friend of mine. Knowing Jerry, you know, he would do anything he could to help anybody, especially kids. He was real interested in kids. And when I found out it was him, it was quite a shock. Sergeant Robinson, he yelled back to us on the shore, you know, that he was getting tired, that he wanted some help out there. So I was trying to make my way out there.
I honestly didn't expect to find him out there and doing like I was doing, but I thought we had to try. I went down again in the same spot, and I kicked something with my foot. I went under with my left hand, and I grabbed what I'd kicked, and it was Mr. Anderson's arm. I came back up, and I pulled his arm up. It's the first time I realized that it was a grown man that I was looking for.
As soon as they got him out of the water, the paramedics began resuscitation efforts.
We wanted to go down there. We thought he was conscious and wanted to go down there and say thanks, but they wouldn't let us. Well, no, I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel good at all. I felt like it was my fault.
One of those children said the last words he said when he jumped in was, "Go call my mom." And I thought that was kind of strange, and someone did. And she came. And it was bad. When Miss Brandon got there, they restrained her, and she was kicking and screaming and hollering death calls. She was wanting to get down there.
Estelle Brandon had not been told why she was wanted down at the river that day.
I knew that they knew Jerry was dead. It's why they didn't let me go with him in the ambulance.
His mother called, and I could barely understand her. She was hollering and screaming, and she said, I think Jerry's dead. And I couldn't even talk, and I had to beat my chest because the words wouldn't come out. Nothing would come out. I said, oh, Lord, how am I going to tell Delonda that her daddy is dead?
35-year-old Jerry Anderson was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital.
Well, I had a dream about him one night, and it was like real life. You know, he just walked through the door and smiled. And it was so odd because he had on a white veil-looking shirt. And I was telling my mother about it. She said, he's an angel. When you give up your life for another life, you go to heaven.
Jerry Anderson did not go in that water because he saw my son or some little kid that he knew in trouble. Jerry Anderson went in that water because he saw a human being in trouble. I'm glad Jerry was there. And what he's done, there's no greater sacrifice that could be made. There's no way to heap the honors on the man that really would justify what he's done.
He really didn't know us, and he still risked his life for Pooh. Thanks for diving in for my friend.